Story 1. The Treehouse Investigation. I need to tell someone about what happened in 1987. Mate. About the treehouse Alex and I found, about Officer Hendricks, about why I haven't slept well in 35 years. Alex and I were 12 that summer. The kind of 12 where the whole world feels like an adventure waiting to happen. We lived on the edge of Millfield, where suburban lawns gave way to endless forests. Our parents called it the woods. We called it freedom. Every morning that summer, we'd pack sandwiches and knives and disappear into those trees. 2 hours in any direction and you'd still be walking through green. It was our kingdom. Our private universe where grown-ups couldn't follow. That's what we thought, anyway. The day we found the treehouse, we'd been hiking deeper than usual, following deer paths that twisted through brambles and over fallen logs. The air smelled like pine sap and summer rain. "Look up," Alex whispered. 30 feet above us, a perfect wooden box balanced in the crook of an old oak. Not some kid's weekend project thrown together with scrap wood. This was professional. Solid walls. A real door. Windows with actual glass. Who builds something like that way out here? I asked. Alex was already planning our assault. We need rope and tools. We're gonna make this ours. That night at dinner, we couldn't shut up about our discovery. My dad listened with the patient smile of a man who remembered being 12. After Alex went home, Dad took me to the Army surplus store. "Every explorer needs proper equipment," he said, buying us 50 feet of climbing rope and carabiners that looked serious enough for real mountains. We were back at dawn the next day. It took us 3 hours to rig a rope ladder and haul ourselves up to that wooden platform. Our hearts were hammering with excitement as we stood outside the door. Rock, paper, scissors for who goes first. Alex suggested. He won. He always won. Alex pushed open the door and stepped inside. The silence stretched for maybe 10 seconds. Then he stumbled back out, face white as paper. "We need to leave," he said. "Right now." But curiosity is a disease when you're 12. I pushed past him into the treehouse. The smell hit me first. Sweet and chemical. Like cleaning supplies mixed with something organic. Something wrong. Then I saw the walls. Every inch covered in photographs. Polaroids and magazine pages and printed pictures. All children. All exposed. All looking scared in ways that made my stomach twist. Some of the faces looked familiar. Kids from school. Kids from the neighborhood. Kids who'd been reported missing over the past few years. In the center of the room, a wooden chair with leather straps attached to the arms and legs. Stains on the floor that weren't from spilled drinks. I backed out of that treehouse so fast I nearly fell 30 feet to the ground. "We tell my dad," I said, "right now." Alex nodded. We packed our rope and ran home faster than we'd ever run anywhere. Dad called the police immediately. Officer Hendricks arrived 20 minutes later. Mid-40s. Clean uniform. The kind of cop who looked like he'd stepped out of a recruitment poster. He asked us detailed questions. Where exactly was the treehouse? How did we get up there? Did we take anything? Did we touch anything? Did we tell anyone else? The questions got weird, personal. Why were we in the woods alone? Did our parents know we carried knives? Had we ever seen any suspicious adults in the area? My dad finally cut him off. They found something disturbing. They reported it. That's what good citizens do. Officer Hendricks nodded and closed his notebook. "We'll look into it. In the meantime, boys, maybe stay closer to home for a while." We never heard back. Not a word. 2 weeks later, Alex and I snuck back to see if the police had done anything. The treehouse was gone. Not torn down. Not burned. Just gone. Like it had never existed. Maybe they moved the evidence. Alex suggested. But even at 12, we knew that wasn't how crime scenes worked. We forgot about it eventually. The way kids forget about nightmares when summer ends and school starts and life moves forward. Years passed. High school. College. Alex and I stayed friends but drifted to different cities. different lives. Then in 2003, Alex sent me an email with a newspaper clipping attached. Local police officer takes own life. Officer David Hendricks, 40-year veteran of the Millfield Police Department, had been found dead in his garage. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. The article mentioned that his wife had recently discovered disturbing materials in their home and had contacted federal authorities. 2 weeks later, another email from Alex. This one with an auction listing. Estate sale, 1247 Oak Street. Among the items for sale, lot number 47, described as camping equipment including rope ladder with carrying bag. Alex drove down to Millfield for that auction. He said he needed to see for himself. He bought lot 47 for $20. The rope ladder was ours. Still had our knots. Still smelled like pine sap and fear. But that wasn't the worst part. Inside the carrying bag, Alex found a photo album. Polaroids of dozens of children. Some we recognized from old missing person reports. Some we didn't. And on the last page, a picture of Alex and me. Standing on the treehouse platform, smiling and waving at the camera. We hadn't taken that picture. We'd never seen anyone else in those woods. But someone had been watching us. Someone had been there, documenting our discovery, making sure we became part of his collection. Officer Hendricks hadn't investigated our report. He'd been protecting his property. And if we'd gone back to that treehouse one more time, if we'd been a little less careful, if we'd been the kind of kids who kept secrets instead of telling parents, we would have been in that photo album permanently. The only reason we survived is that we did exactly what guilty people don't do. We told the truth. Story 2. The delivery address that doesn't exist. I deliver pizza for Marcos. Have for 3 years. Same routes. Same neighborhoods. Same customers who order the exact same thing every Friday night. You get to know the geography when you drive the same streets for 1,000 nights. Every shortcut. Every house number. Every building that exists. And every empty lot that doesn't. That's why 1247 Sycamore Street bothered me so much. It started 2 months ago. Online order. Large pepperoni. Extra cheese. Nothing unusual except the address. 1247 Sycamore Street. I'd driven Sycamore Street hundreds of times. I knew that block. Odd numbers on the north side. Even numbers on the south. The street ended at 1201. There was no one 1247. I know. I called the number on the order. Hello. A woman's voice. Tired. Like she'd been crying. This is Marco's Pizza. I have a delivery for 1247 Sycamore. But I can't find that address. Oh. Long pause. I'm sorry. I must have made a mistake. Cancel the order. Click. Weird, but not that weird. People mess up addresses all the time. Except the same order came in the next Friday. Same address, same phone number. This time I decided to investigate. I drove to Sycamore Street and parked where 1247 should be. Empty lot. Overgrown grass. A for sale sign that looked like it had been there for years. I called the number again. Hello. Same woman's voice. Same tired tone. This is Marco's Pizza. You placed an order for 1247 Sycamore Street, but there's no house at that address. What do you mean? She sounded confused. I'm looking right at my house number, 1247. It's right here on my door. Ma'am, I'm standing where that address should be. There's nothing here but an empty lot. Silence. Then, that's impossible. I'm home. I can see my living room. I can see my kitchen. I'm looking out my window right now. What do you see outside? The street. Cars parked. Mrs. Henderson's blue house across the way. I looked across the street. No blue house. No Mrs. Henderson. Just more empty lots, ma'am. I think there might be some confusion. Please, she said. And now she was definitely crying. Please just bring the pizza. My daughter is hungry. We haven't eaten in days. The line went dead. I sat in my car for 20 minutes. staring at that empty lot, trying to figure out what was happening. Maybe she was confused about her address. Maybe she lived on Sycamore Avenue instead of Sycamore Street. Maybe I was the one who was confused. But I'd been driving these streets for 3 years. I knew where I was. The next Friday. Same order. Same address. Same phone number. This time I was ready. I drove straight to Sycamore Street and parked in the same spot. Empty lot. Same for sale sign. But this time, as I sat there, I heard something. A child crying. Faint. Like it was coming from underground. I got out of my car and walked across the empty lot. The crying got louder. Definitely coming from below. Like there was a basement under the grass. I called the number. Hello. The woman answered immediately. This is Marco's Pizza. I'm at 1247 Sycamore Street right now. There's no house here, but I can hear crying. That's my daughter. She said quickly. She's hungry. Please. We ordered a pizza. Why won't you bring it to us? Because there's no house to bring it to. I don't understand. I'm home. I'm looking at my front door right now. The number is right there. 1247. I knelt down and pressed my ear to the ground. The crying was clearer now. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And underneath that, the sound of someone talking. A woman's voice, saying the same words over and over. Please bring the pizza. Please bring the pizza. Please bring the pizza. Ma'am, I said into the phone, how long have you lived at that address? What do you mean? How long have you been at 1247 Sycamore Street? Long pause. I don't remember. A while. We moved here. When? I can't. Why can't I remember? Crying underground was getting louder. More desperate. Ma'am, what's the last thing you remember? Before living at that address. Her voice became confused. Frightened. I remember driving. There was an accident. Rebecca was in the car. My daughter. We were going to get pizza. And then we were home. But I don't remember getting home. I pulled out my phone and Googled 1247 Sycamore Street accident. The first result made my blood freeze. Mother and daughter killed in car crash. Maria Santos, 34, and her daughter Rebecca Santos, 8, were killed instantly when their vehicle struck a tree on Sycamore Street. The accident occurred Friday evening as the family was returning from dinner. The site of the crash has since been designated as a memorial lot. The article was dated 2 months ago. The same week I'd received the first pizza order. I looked down at the empty lot with new understanding. This wasn't just empty land. This was where they died. This was their final destination. And somehow, they were still trying to get home. I hung up the phone and drove back to Marco's. I made a large pepperoni pizza with extra cheese. Then I drove back to 1247 Sycamore Street. I set the pizza box in the center of the empty lot. Maria. I called out, Rebecca, your pizza is here. The crying stopped immediately. A wind picked up, even though the night had been perfectly still. The pizza box opened by itself. I watched the slices disappear one by one, eaten by invisible hands. When the box was empty, I heard the woman's voice one more time. Not from my phone. From the air around me. Noah. Thank you, she whispered. We can go home now. The order hasn't come in since then. But sometimes, when I drive past that empty lot, I can see them for just a second. A woman and a little girl walking toward a house that isn't there. Finally going home to a place that exists only in memory. I keep their phone number in my contacts, just in case they get hungry again. Just in case they need someone to remember that they existed. That they were here. That they were human. Story 3. The Memory Collector. I work at Sunset Meadows Nursing Home. Night shift. Have for 8 years. You see a lot of things working nights in a place where people come to forget. Most of our residents have dementia. Alzheimer's. Their minds are leaving piece by piece. like a house where the lights go out one room at a time. Usually it's sad, but peaceful. They forget names, faces, stories, but they fade gently. Surrounded by people who care. Mrs. Henderson was different. She arrived on a Tuesday in October, 93 years old. Advanced dementia according to her chart. No family, no visitors. Just another lost soul warehoused by the state. But Mrs. Henderson wasn't forgetting. She was collecting. It started small. She'd tell stories about other residents' lives. Stories they'd never told her. Stories they'd forgotten themselves. Oh, Margaret, she'd say to Mrs. Patterson, remember when you met your husband at that's in 1952? You wore the blue dress with the pearl buttons. Mrs. Patterson would stare at her in confusion. She hadn't remembered her husband's name in 3 years. How did you know about the blue dress? I asked Mrs. Henderson. She smiled with eyes that were far too sharp for someone with dementia. Margaret told me, last night. She remembers everything when she sleeps. That should have been my first warning. Within a week, Mrs. Henderson knew intimate details about every resident on the floor. First, pets, childhood addresses, the names of siblings who died in wars that ended before she was born. She's remarkable, said Dr. Martinez during rounds. Her memory is completely intact. The dementia diagnosis must have been incorrect, but I'd read her chart. Multiple cognitive tests. Brain scans showing significant deterioration. Mrs. Henderson should barely remember her own name, let alone the life stories of 30 strangers. The real problem started when residents began changing. Mr. Kowalski had been a sweet man. Gentle, confused but kind. After a week near Mrs. Henderson, he became violent, aggressive, started speaking Polish and demanding to see his brother Stanislaw. His brother, Stanislaw, had died in a concentration camp in 1943. Mr. Kowalski had never had a brother named Stanislaw. He's accessing suppressed genetic memories. Dr. Martinez theorized, sometimes severe dementia can unlock ancestral trauma, but that didn't explain Mrs. Chen. Mrs. Chen was Chinese-American, born in San Francisco, spoke perfect English her entire life. After 2 weeks near Mrs. Henderson, she started speaking fluent French, singing lullabies in a language she'd never learned. Ma petite étoile, she'd whisper to empty air. Maman is here. When I Googled the words, I found out she was singing to a child, a daughter who died of pneumonia in 1920s Paris. Mrs. Chen had never been to Paris, had never had a daughter, but someone had, someone whose memories were bleeding through. I started paying closer attention to Mrs. Henderson, watching her during my night rounds, listening to the things she whispered when she thought no one was around. That's when I discovered what she was really doing. At 3 a.m., I found her sitting beside Mr. Franklin's bed, her hand on his forehead. His eyes were open but unseeing, staring at something only he could perceive. Tell me about the war, she whispered. Tell me about the boy you killed in France. Mr. Franklin's mouth moved soundlessly, but Mrs. Henderson nodded as if she could hear every word. Yes, she said. I understand. You carry that with you, the guilt, the nightmares, but you don't have to anymore. Give it to me. Let me carry it. Something passed between them. A shadow. A weight. Mr. Franklin's face relaxed for the first time in months. Mrs. Henderson's eyes grew darker. What are you doing? I whispered. She turned to look at me. Mush. When she smiled, I saw centuries in her expression. Lifetimes of accumulated pain. I'm helping, she said. They suffer so much, all these memories, all this guilt and fear and regret. They don't need to carry it anymore. You're stealing their memories. I'm preserving them. When they die, everything they were dies with them. Every story, every moment, every lesson learned, all of it. Gone forever. But I remember. I keep it safe. That's not your choice to make. Her smile faded, isn't it? Look around. Half these people don't know their own names. They're losing themselves piece by piece anyway. At least this way. Something survives. I backed away from her. How many people, how many lives have you collected? Thousands, she said simply. I've been doing this for a very long time, longer than this facility has existed, longer than this city. I move from place to place, hospital to hospital, nursing home, gathering stories before they disappear. Gathering stories before they disappear. What are you? I'm a librarian, she said, for human experience, for the moments that matter. Someone has to remember. Someone has to keep score. The next morning, Mr. Franklin was found dead in his bed. Natural causes according to the death certificate. Peaceful passing in his sleep. But I knew better. I knew what Mrs. Henderson had taken from him. His war trauma. His survivor's guilt. The memories that had tortured him for 70 years. She'd taken his pain, and somehow, that had taken his life. Over the next month, 7 more residents died. All peacefully, all in their sleep, all after spending time with Mrs. Henderson. I tried to report her, tried to warn Dr. Martinez, but what could I say? That a 93-year-old woman with dementia was somehow stealing memories from dying patients. They'd think I was the one losing my mind. The final incident happened on a Tuesday in November, exactly 1 month after Mrs. Henderson had arrived. I found her in the recreation room at 3 a.m., sitting in her wheelchair, completely still. Her eyes were closed, but tears were streaming down her face. Mrs. Henderson? She opened her eyes. For just a moment. I saw them all. Every memory she'd collected. Every life she'd absorbed. Thousands of people living and dying behind her pupils. I remember everything, she whispered. Every first love. Every broken heart. Every moment of joy and terror and hope. I remember what it felt like to be young, to be old, to be afraid, to be brave, to say goodbye. How do you bear it? I don't, she said. That's why I keep moving. If I stay too long in one place, if I collect too many memories, they start to overlap, they start to bleed together, and I begin to forget which ones are mine. She looked at me with something like regret. I have to go soon, before I lose myself completely, before I become everyone and no one. Where will you go? Wherever there are people forgetting, wherever stories are dying, wherever someone needs to remember. The next morning, Mrs. Henderson was gone. Not dead, not transferred, just gone. Her room was empty. Her chart had vanished. According to the computer system, she had never existed. But the other residents remembered her. In their confused moments, in their lucid intervals, they would mention the nice lady who listened to their stories, who helped them remember, who took away their pain. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I can still feel her presence, moving through the halls, collecting the memories that would otherwise be lost forever, preserving the human experience one story at a time. I don't know if what she does is right or wrong, but I understand why she does it. Because in a place where people come to forget, someone has to remember. Someone has to keep the stories alive, even if it costs them their own identity, even if it makes them the loneliest person who ever lived.